Your job title can stay exactly the same while your market value falls. No dramatic replacement, no robot taking your chair. Just fewer hours needed for the same output, weaker leverage in salary negotiations, and a higher standard for what your employer considers valuable. That is the AI risk most people are not watching. In February 2026, half of employed Americans told Gallup they used AI at work, at least occasionally, but only 13% used it daily. That gap matters. Most workplaces are not fully automated. They are experimenting, task by task, while managers decide what becomes faster, what becomes cheaper, and what still deserves human attention. Your position may survive that process. The value inside it may not remain the same. Hey, I'm Marcus. This channel explains how AI is changing work, income, and career decisions without the hype. Subscribe if you want clear, evidence-based briefings like this. Today, you will learn how to separate vulnerable tasks from valuable ones, test AI safely, and turn the result into evidence an employer can understand. This video is for general educational purposes. It is not financial, legal, employment, or career advice. AI can make mistakes, so verify important outputs and follow your employer's policies. Now let us start with the question most people ask incorrectly. People ask, will AI replace my job? But a job is not one activity. It is a bundle of tasks with different economic value. Consider a project manager. Part of the role is administrative, scheduling meetings, formatting reports, summarizing calls, updating plans, and organizing information. Another part requires judgment, deciding which delay is dangerous, negotiating with a supplier, calming an angry client, resolving conflict, and accepting responsibility when a decision fails. AI will not affect those tasks equally. If a weekly report once required 4 hours and a verified first draft can now be created in 90 minutes, the job does not disappear. But the 4-hour process becomes harder to defend as premium work. That difference can influence workload, hiring, performance expectations, and eventually career leverage. This is an inference about how task economics may affect a role, not a guarantee that one tool will cut one person's salary. The important point is simpler. Effort and value are not the same thing. An employer usually values the useful result, the risk prevented, the customer retained, or the decision improved. If technology reduces the effort required for one part of the result, you need to understand what becomes valuable next. The International Labor Organization estimates that roughly 1 in 4 workers worldwide has some occupational exposure to generative AI. Exposure does not mean automatic job loss. The ILO's task-level analysis says transformation is more likely than complete replacement in most exposed occupations, because human involvement remains necessary. The World Economic Forum also reports that employers expect nearly 40% of workers' core skills to change by 2030. At the same time, employers continue to emphasize analytical thinking, resilience, leadership, and collaboration alongside technical skills. These are forecasts, not promises about your individual future, but they support a practical conclusion. The near-term question is often not whether your entire job disappears. It is, which tasks change first, who controls the new workflow, and who remains responsible for the result. People often react in one of two ways. The first is denial. They see an AI error and conclude that the technology is useless. The error matters, but an imperfect tool can still change the cost of a task if it creates a usable first version in seconds and a human can verify it quickly. The second response is blind enthusiasm. People collect tools, automate everything possible, and assume that faster means more valuable. It does not. If AI saves you 3 hours and you use them to produce more low-value documents, your employer may simply expect more output for the same salary. The correct response is not to protect every manual process or surrender every decision. It is to separate tasks that AI can automate, tasks it can improve, and tasks where human responsibility remains central. Open a blank document and list 10 things you actually did during the last working week. Do not write marketing, finance, or management. Those are departments and categories. Write observable actions, prepared the weekly report, answered customer questions, checked invoices, researched competitors, reviewed a contract, presented results, or resolved a disagreement. Now place one letter beside every task. A means automate. These are repetitive, rules-based tasks with outputs that can be checked quickly. Formatting information, extracting fields, converting notes into a standard structure, or producing a first-pass summary may belong here. B means boost. AI can accelerate these tasks, but a person must still interpret the information and own the final decision. Research, comparison, drafting, and identifying missing information often fit this category. H means human advantage. These tasks depend heavily on context, trust, negotiation, difficult trade-offs, confidentiality, or accountability. The audit is not a ranking of good and bad work. It shows where pressure may appear and where your future leverage may be built. Consider Maya, a fictional project coordinator. Every Friday, she spends 4 hours preparing a project update. She collects meeting notes, checks deadlines, reviews supplier messages, and combines everything into one report. With approved, non-confidential data, Maya tests an AI-assisted workflow. It organizes the notes and creates a structured first draft. After verification and corrections, the process takes 90 minutes instead of 4 hours. That sounds like the result. It is not. The draft describes one supplier delay as a minor issue. Maya knows the same supplier has already failed twice. The document contains the fact, but not the history and relationship context that makes the fact dangerous. She checks the source, changes the priority, contacts the supplier, warns the correct stakeholder, and prevents a client problem from growing. AI made the information faster to process. Maya made it useful. The 2.5 hours she saved become valuable only if she moves them toward better work, resolving risks earlier, speaking with clients, or improving decisions. If she simply creates more reports, the workflow increases output. If she prevents a costly delay, it increases her contribution. That distinction is the center of this video. An AI model can produce 10 responses to an angry client. It does not carry the consequences of choosing the wrong one. It can summarize a contract. It may not know the unwritten expectation that has held a business relationship together for 10 years. It can recommend a decision. It cannot personally rebuild trust after that decision fails. This does not make human judgment perfect. People make expensive mistakes too. The difference is accountability. Someone must check the source, understand what is missing, decide which trade-off is acceptable, communicate the choice, and answer for the outcome. Your strongest position is therefore not a career that never touches AI. It is a career where AI increases your speed while you strengthen the judgment, communication, domain knowledge, and responsibility surrounding the result. The tool handles more friction. You become better at deciding what deserves attention. There is still a problem. Using AI does not automatically improve your salary or promotion prospects. Telling your manager, "I use AI," is not evidence of value. Create a simple record with 4 elements: the original process, the new workflow, the quality control step, and the measurable outcome. For Maya, the record might say, the original report required 4 hours. The AI-assisted draft and human review required 90 minutes. Every deadline and number was checked against the original source. The recovered time was used to identify and resolve a supplier risk before it affected the client. Measure what you can prove: time saved, corrections required, errors prevented, response time, completed work, or documented outcomes. Do not invent dramatic savings. A small verified improvement is more credible than a large estimate with no evidence behind it. Before testing any workplace workflow, check your company's policies and approved tools. Do not upload confidential client information, passwords, employee data, private financial records, trade secrets, or unpublished documents without explicit authorization. Use anonymized or fictional data when possible. Verify calculations independently. Check important claims against original sources. Review every output before another person relies on it. AI can produce a confident error or follow a flawed instruction perfectly. The goal is not to transfer your judgment to a machine. It is to remove low-value friction so you can apply more judgment where it matters. Here's the practical plan. On day 1, list 10 tasks from your real work week. On day 2, classify them as automate, boost, or human advantage. On day 3, choose one low-risk task from the first 2 categories. On day 4, test the manual and AI-assisted workflows using the same quality standard. On day 5, compare the time, quality, corrections, and final outcome. Keep the workflow only if it creates a verified improvement, then move some of the recovered time toward a human advantage task. The principle is simple. Do not protect effort that technology can remove. Protect and strengthen the judgment that makes the result useful. If this evidence-led format helped you understand the issue, leave a like. Subscribe for more clear briefings about AI work and money. And tell me in the comments, which task in your job would you classify as automate, boost, or human advantage? In the next video, we will examine the other side of this problem: why using more AI tools can make you look productive without making you more valuable. Watch that video on screen now.